Hey folks, welcome along to another battle report. I'm going to do the castle duel that we did at the club. This is a big game. It's 5 players versus 5 players, and the rules is basically something we've made up over the years. We've done it a couple of times now. Basically, there is 4 villages in the middle, each owned by either side of the player. So you have one village in either corner. The Rohan looking one is on the good side, so this nearest edge is the good side. And then you've got the village on this side of the river in the centre, and then on the opposite side you can see the evil village also has a village in the middle and on the far corner. Also, each side has a castle. The idea of the game is just to get as many miniatures on the board as we can as we play over the day. This game lasts about 8.5 hours, I think, by the time we finish playing it. And it's just, as I say, for fun. The army lists are dependent on the players themselves, so how everyone interacts with each other will depends on that. So it's not all one big army, so it gets everyone bringing up whatever they want to play with. And as you can see, we've got a fairly good mix in what's here. We played with a kind of paint tax. If your army is, some of your figures are unpainted, and just inspires people to get their forces painted for the day. Alright, so we'll have a quick look at the armies. So, starting with the nearest edge to the good side, we have the Mordor force, and at the front there we have a Mordor army, which is led by Gothmog and a whole bunch of Moran and Orcs. At the top, there's also a Moran Orc with a Shaman as well, giving more fury, and there's a banner in there. Behind them is that other Shaman's representing Kardesh, the Fireball Shaman. For Mordor, and that's a whole bunch of black Numenorians that are mounted, and in front they're from another, no, I think it could be a Barad-dûr army, is that other army, or another Mordor army, and then beside them there's some Unnamal Orcs, and I believe they're part of the Angmar army, and I think there's a Barrow-wight or a Shade in behind there. You can just see the blue glow from them. Then on the good side, opposite them, we have a whole bunch of Rohan. Down the bottom we have the Rohan infantry. They're led by Grimbold, and they're his, I think it's strength 4 bonus for those guys, so it's their strength 4 bonus. And then we have Gamling leading a whole bunch of riders just coming over the hill there. Chaps on the hill have all got bows ready to shoot over. That's the army of the dead there over on the marsh, and there you have got the king with them, I believe, in this one. Next up we have our Centaur on the good side. It's a Minas Tirith force, again with the army of the dead that's supporting it, and they have, I think, Beregond, a bunch of excuse me, a bunch of longbowmen, citadel guard, some Minas Tirith warriors in the centre, and he's along with the new character from Forge World, which can't be pushed back. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, and an Avenger bolt thrower obviously sitting on the building there. On opposite them we have I think there's a Barad-dûr army. It's the tough Uruk-hai guys with the big shields, strength 5 Uruk-hai, Blackguard I think they're called. They're quite terrifying. And then it's the Goblin army there. All the goblins you can see there have probably got captains leading them and a shaman, and he's also got the mouth of Sauron leading his Mordor force there as well. Moving over to my side of the board, we've got a Wood Elf and Numenorian alliance there. The other rest of the Numenorian force is in the castle. It's some elves over there. So we have Isildur and some Numenorian warriors, and in the back there we have Haldir with his archers, and Rumil with a combat contingent as well. Then facing off against them we have the Isengard force, which has Malhir and his fast moving Uruk-hai scouts, Vrasku, and a whole bunch of crossbowmen and a couple of scouts, and in the background is the rest of the Angmar force, which is a Warg chieftain and a load of wild wargs, and the Angmar force also has a Barrow-wight and some more orcs in their castle. Both of us put units in their castles just in case anyone wanted to be cheeky and trying to get a flying unit. These are 350 points to start off with. So the game won't be like a stage by stage, but I took as many photos as I could during the game. So the left hand flank, the good guys managed to start pushing across. The Numenorians take a few casualties from their crossbowmen, but other than that they quickly take care of Malhir and kill him off, and we also kill off the Warg chieftain as well, and to try to push our way across on this side of the bridge. With Rumil, once he got into combat in Isildur, we had the advantage there and pushed as hard as we could. On the right hand side, things were looking a bit dicey for the good guys there, but Gothmog finally got across the bridge, and then as he got across, the Army of the Dead then went and closed in behind him, leaving Gothmog and his band to face up against the Riders of Rohan and all the Airlings, is it called? The Strength 4 Rohan. Even though they managed to use the end of or time of the Orc, or whatever the special rule was, the round of combat went actually quite bad for them, even with the special rule up, and the charging Rohirrim actually smashed up the Rohan Orcs quite nastily. So things were looking pretty good over here for the good side too. So this is just an overall look of how it was looking. In the centre, not much has moved. The Army of the Dead went straight across the river and started to gauge the goblins there, with whatever the marauders and that were there, and on the bridge there was just a kind of pushing contest without the Ministerials having to worry about being pushed back thanks to their special character. How this game plays is at the end of every 6 turns we can use the points that we have of the villages, get reinforcements, and they can reinforce to any villages we own. All the villages and the castles have claim tokens. If you're the only one in there, your claim token goes up by 1. If it's contested, whoever's in there, claim token goes down. And obviously this means if we can get across like we have done here in the centre, their claim's going down. It starts with 3 and it goes up to the maximum 6. So even though it seems quite easy to take the enemy's claim tokens, it's actually a bit of a challenge. But we changed this from previous where we had to clear everybody out and do it that way when we never actually got anyone's village. So this time, even if it's contested, your claim vanishes, and then once you don't own it, you can't send reinforcements there, and that village itself doesn't give any points either. So as you can see, as long as we can push this centre, we can try and reduce their village to nothing. We'll have a bonus on reinforcements, which is the plan. The other thing really important is named heroes can't be brought back if they died. If they fled, you can pay for them to come back as per usual. So any named heroes are kind of a liability. You get their special abilities for being a named hero, but if they die, they're gone for good. And in this case here, the Avenger of Bolt Thrower managed to take out the mouth of Sauron before he was able to do anything. On the left-hand side, as I said, Mao here was lost to Isildur. And we managed to kill off the wild chieftain. I know he's not a named one, but killing characters is also important, because no warband can be reinforced if they don't have a leader first to actually have anyone there. So if you're trying to reinforce a previous warband, you'll need the hero, and of course hero is more expensive, meaning if you don't have to spend out on heroes, you can get more guys on the battlefield. So sniping off enemy characters are quite a vital tactic in this game. Back to the right hand flank, the army did absolutely fantastic in getting rid of the mounted Númenóreans, and then in the combats down below, I think Gothmog is still in the centre there. I think he's the one with the sword up, taking on Grimbold. By the way, Grimbold is a conversion from Gamling, I believe. It's a fantastic conversion. That was a good job by Chris, who did that. Also, you notice the Rohan that's back in the village there made bit of a faux pas that we didn't put anyone in there, so our marker didn't go up, because the villages only start with 3 while your town, your actual castle start with 6. So the village ones can go up to make it slightly harder for the enemy to take it away from you. We forgot about that and everyone was engaged, so he quickly ran someone back there just before the end of the round, and we could start getting some points back at the end of each turn. But as you can see, the combat here is going pretty well. The player had used up all his might and stuff on his heroes to keep them alive. Gambling, I think, is at the top there. It was a conversion from the banner version of him. But yes, basically the plan is now, if he can run them back into the village, you can regain your might, will and fate, plus any wounds. So if you're under attack near one of your villages, you have a good chance of getting your characters back to full power again. So over on this side, you can see the Númenóreans have taken a complete battering there. I think I'm down to 3, and Isildur, so he was on his break check. But as I said, we managed to take out the 2 of the enemy heroes here, so it gave us a slight advantage. We're trying to push through just to get someone in to contest the village. Unfortunately, there's no way we're going to do it in 6 turns. But that's the whole point. Each flank has quite a hard corner to push, while the centre is quite an even push. So you really have to try and reinforce it. And obviously, trying to reinforce each flank is going to take a long time for any reinforcements to come. Unlike the Uruk-hai you can see here, they're right in the village and can quickly be reinforced. So definitely a hard push going against the enemy on either flank. But you see there's still plenty of wargs to fight through. I think by now I've used up all the might on Isildur as well. I used that just to kill off his warg chieftain. I thought it'd be worth it. Got through his heroes, and they're what, 80 odd points. Plus, it's going to need like another Uruk-hai captain if he wants to get any more Uruk-hai. So that's another 80 points. That's 160 odd. Well, I don't think that much. There's 60 points. Those are like 140 points they're going to be spending on characters, and they can't spend it on extra infantry to help push anywhere. So this shot's been taken after we've had some reinforcements, I believe. Yes, definitely, because there's some Warg Riders now in amongst them, and some armoured Uruk-hai, so they've definitely had some reinforcements. So basically, the end of every 6 turns, for each village you have, you can reinforce with 125 points and 250 for your castle, so you get 500 points at the end of every 6 rounds. So it's quite a good boost. The only downside is, as I said before, on the flanks it takes a long time to get any reinforcements there, especially on foot. For the good guys here, I know we've got some elves on horseback to try and help get here as quick as I can. Other than that, I went for a big Numenorean foot troop to help push into the centre there, keep my break point up for the next 6 rounds. The elves themselves, even the archers got involved now, and Howdy's in the combat as well. Well, I'm down to, I think, just Isildur and just my banner bearer for my... oh no, I've got 2 guys. So Isildur and 2 others. So the rest of the guys are on the way, but it's going to be a long old trek. So on this side you can see that some more reinforcements are coming in from the Rohan. They only had a couple of riders, and that guy who's jumping up on the horse there is Eomer. Gothmog died, and again this was an advantage to the good guys. They didn't lose any heroes on this side. The king is still alive, Gamling is still alive, and so is Grimbold. So with all the characters still in good condition and Eomer has now been added to it, this side has a good chance to start pushing. In the background there, you can see, I think there's a couple more Morannon orcs, and then some more of the, well, what I keep calling them, mounted Numenorians. I think that's what they're called, Minas Morgul Knights or something. But they're there, and you can see, I think it's Shade or Barrow White there, still from Angmar as well. So in the centre, yeah, it's just been a very long trudge. The goblins are never actually pushing to break through and keep losing an inch each time. Why they're not gaining anything, the longbowman and Avenger bolt thrower is just picking off what they can. They did have some converted marauders, they vanished pretty quick to the combined fire, and the ghosts, which you can see in the background there, managed to get across the river, so now their area is contested. Each turn they'll lose a claim marker for that village, and eventually they'll lose all claim to it and won't be able to reinforce or get its points for it. So as you can see back on the left hand flank where our Numenorians are, it's been pretty bloody. The whole new reinforcement of Numenorians have finally got through. We've lost Haldir. Rumil is still fighting. He's standing not far from Isildur in the centre of the picture there, and we have some mounted elven knights come in just to get here quicker. But we've pretty much cut our way through and hacked them up pretty well, so as long as we can last. The opponents have also learned from the last fight, and if you can see behind the crossbowman there is the Wild Warg chieftain. He took a hammer against Isildur and then quickly ran off for the following turn to be able to regain his might in that, and give him a bit more of a challenge for poor old Isildur, who's currently, I think, he's not taken any wounds, but he's just lost all his might. So he was relying on his banner, which has unfortunately been lost. It was taken out by some crossbows. So we've had another reinforcements phase. The opponents have got more orcs here, more wags have turned up, and as you can see, it's chaotic, and we are desperately running out of elves and men. Unfortunately, what we did here is we invested into the centre of the board, where we're winning, and here these guys were just trying to hold up to make sure they don't end up trying to cross the bridge. If we can push into the enemy territory, that would have been great. That would have wound them up a bit. I think the cavalry is on the far, yes, on the far side of the little town, top left hand side there. You can see just one of the cavalrymen there. They're trying to find a way in, just to contest their village, but as you can see, it's not going to do well on the left hand side. As long as we can hold them up and stop them from crossing the river and then starting to engage either the castle, which they probably wouldn't do because they've got no siege equipment, but they could easily attack our centre town. So on the far hand side, things just went absolutely brilliantly for the forces of good. A combination of Rohan and the army of the dead broke what was left of one of the Mordor armies and then dropped them down to the, what's he called, a harbinger of death, or harbinger of evil, sorry, on the king. Put them down to courage 1, and then the rest just ran off. So as you can see now, the Rohan are now moving up around the village. They're trying to clear the village out of all kind of goblins. I think there's like one or two just running around there. Also in the centre there, you can see Elrond has turned up. I brought him. It was a bit of an investment, but the enemy was down one town, so I thought we could throw it away and have an investment just to get visions. I was lucky to roll a 6, and which meant we had a good chance of getting some priority when and where we needed it. But as you can see, the enemy have been cleared here, and they're going to start reinforcing on the far left-hand side in the village, and of course into their castle itself. So with the centre cleared up, we could start investing troops and reinforcing that, because not only we cleared it, we now started to capture it, which is fantastic. That gives us another 125 points, and a point that's really close to the enemy castle, to which we can build siege equipment. So I got in some elves. These guys were just to run around the front and keep everyone busy, while my allies' elves go for the other walls along with the Rohan. Just a picture here of the Rohan pushing up through, all the mounted versions, the foot also coming up through, Minas Tirith have crossed over, Elrond's crossed over, still giving us those visions, Eomer there leading the riders of Rohan, just as I said, they cleared up the last of the goblins, the rest fled, so we have now got that town too. So yeah, we invested quite heavily in the ladders. We have wood elves there with ladders. Since most of the wood elves were killed, or we allowed quite a large investment into a new warband. We have Celeborn there, as well as some wood elves with ladders. We also have a few more of the Airlings, the strength 4 Rohan with more ladders, and then of course my elves. So we have a good chance now to attack the castle. So this is just an overall picture. At the far side there, top corner next to the snowy grey buildings, somehow Isildur and Rumil are still fighting on, just irritating the crap out of the wargs and Uruk-hai that are being reinforced there. Not only that, they start adding orcs as well, really just to mop up that flank and then help head towards their castle. So by now we have the orc reinforcements here, and all we're down to, I believe, by looking at it, is Rumil just in the centre there, and a palace guard, and there's a blackguard captain, an Uruk-hai captain, a warg chieftain there. So it's not looking good. As I said, they're pretty much being hammered. There's one elf cavalryman up by the river there, running on the far side, but the ghosts are heading this way to help us push if we want to, but I think we can pretty much say that this corner has gone. Not only that, all the longbowmen, citadel guard are now manning the walls facing this direction, so if they do want to try and go around that corner, they're going to end up facing them as well. And there's the Avenger bolt thrower and my small contingent of elf bowmen also in the castle. So as you see there, Beregond and the Citadel Guard there, just preparing for the flank attack there, while the ghosts head up a river. And then on the far side, we also brought Gwai here. So this guy was, instead of 150 points, it's going to cost us 120, because he was unpainted. But my elves went round the front there to try and engage what they can, and everyone else went round on that little flank, because with the mounted cavalry there, we thought we could charge into whatever starts coming around to support, and unfortunately my elves were the bait to bring them in. Kudos to Chris, who managed to shoot multiple orcs off the ramparts there, considering he was shooting at guys who were defended in fortifications, meaning that he needed a 5 up to pass, and then plus these guys are, defense 5 or 6, and he did 6 to wounds, but he managed to do it with some of his archers, and later on, as the ladders start going up, some of his other foot troops with throwing spears start linking some up as well, and take a few more casualties up there. Gwai here seems to be in a bit of an awkward position and out of line of sight of everything. That's because the orcs did buy a siege bolt thrower, siege bolt thrower, whichever it's called. So we didn't want to be a one-shot Gwai here since we just brought him. One of the things we're missing from the current rules is the siege rules. So I still got my old blue book, and we use the siege rules from there combined with the new rules. As you can see, also just on the left hand side there, at the top end corner, that's a Uruk-hai ballista as well, who was flying down into the ghosts and that to drive them all back. But we had ladders against the wall, which was fantastic. But just as a proper siege should be, it's a bloody nightmare to get up the ladders. And I think you can really feel the siege effect as men start getting thrown off and ladders start getting pushed down. So once we got rid of the bolt thrower, and that was mainly due to the shooting from the Rohan, we start getting some guys up onto the walls. We have Celeborn on the far side there in the blue cloak. We've got an elf, and I think we might just have a Rohan there also trying to get over. And finally, Gwaihir manages to come round and support them. I think the Uruk-hai Blister has been kept amused elsewhere at the moment. And then, as you see, we're starting to pour over, and this is getting towards the end of the day. After like some 8, I think we started at 10, got set up for 11, and we finished about 8:30. But we did have an hour for lunch, so it was a long old day, but well worth it. So I'll just finish with some shots of how the game ended. These were the final scenes. We'd managed to capture one of the buildings, and we've even got guys into their area, and we called it a day there with a good guy victory. But as you see, the wild wargs there were just coming around the centre. They mopped up my elves all bar one, and the army of the dead there just stepped in. On the far left hand side there, the Uruk-hai and remaining orcs are forming up, unsure what to do. While if you look in the river behind the statues there's a little band of army of the dead who are fed up with being shot by crossbows. One thing I did realise in this game just how annoying crossbows are. That strength 4 makes a huge difference, especially if you're relying on some good toughness, that's for sure. And just a few final shots of the day. Brilliant fun day. I think everyone really enjoyed themselves, and already we're talking about doing another one. The system itself, Lord of the Rings, is a great system. You can do anything with it, and these kinds of games really get the club together. I say we had 5-a-side, which was great for our club, and people have already changed what they want and how they want to plan the next fight. This time the heroes, or the good guys, managed to push through many of the enemy heroes. We had things where we needed them, we had the matchups we wanted. So next time I'm sure we're going to start seeing some fell beasts and some trolls, just to really annoy us and make us work for our victory for the next one. So we did have one practice game before we tried this, and it was a good guy victory, and again we've had another good guy victory, so we'll see what happens next time. But thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a bit of a different way of playing a game. I'm just really running over what we did. If anyone wants the rules to see what we did, I've got a copy of them somewhere. Just let me know, and I'll try and get them to you. Alright guys, I'll see you next time. Thou Wallace.